How does a man spend 20 years in prison for a crime DNA prove he never committed? This is not fiction. This is a true story of a man whose life was stolen, not by criminals, but by the justice system itself. In 1985, in the small town of North Carolina, a young woman was attacked in her own home. Terrified and traumatized, she gave police a description of her attacker. Within days, investigators zeroed in on a man named Ronald Cotton. Ronald was just 22 years old. He had no violent record, but because he looked similar to the description, he became the prime suspect. In the eyes of police, Ronald wasn't just a suspect. He was a suspect. The victim identified him in a lineup. That was all prosecutors needed. No DNA testing was done. No physical evidence tied him to the crime scene. But the jury believed the eyewitness. Ronald Cotton was sentenced to life in prison. Imagine sitting in a courtroom, screaming your innocence, while every word falls on deaf ears. Years turned into decades. Inside prison walls, Ronald missed birthdays, holidays, and the chance to build a life. His name carried a label he didn't deserve. Rapist, criminal, monster. And yet, he was innocent. In the early 1990s, DNA testing finally became reliable in criminal cases. Ronald Cotton begged for his evidence to be tested. And the results? The DNA proved he was not the attacker. Even more shocking, the DNA matched another man already serving time for other crimes. The truth was undeniable. Ronald Cotton had spent nearly 11 years in prison before DNA cleared him, but it took another decade of fighting to fully restore his life. By the time he walked free, more than 20 years had been stolen from him. Ronald's story is more than one man's nightmare. It's proof of how fragile justice can be. One mistaken identification, one rushed investigation, and a man's life could be destroyed. Since his release, Ronald has dedicated his life to reforming eyewitness identification laws and helping others who were wrongfully convicted. But no reform can ever give him back the years he lost. So I'll ask you again, how does a man spend 20 years in prison for a crime DNA proved he never committed? Do you believe justice was truly served, or is the system guilty of its own crimes? Tell me what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories where justice failed.